The Jazz Symphonic Ear, Part 3.
Part I. Earth is bearing witness to the sleeping moon caught stealing the death of a Cimarron to 200 lashes given to the back of the night to the ambushed by Diego del Campo raiding a mule train in the forest to the slaves boiled alive at seen the severed heads of slaves on a pole in the town square when the job of a war of the Negroes raged in Hispaniola. It had witnessed Campo turn cold against his skin color dark as a Negro knight holding a sliver of a silver spoon eating away the moon. It has witnessed Manuel Espinosa betrayed by torture when the feast of John the Baptist was hung, drawn, and quartered. It has witnessed the capture of Love Pruba to sail it back to Africa. It has witnessed the skinning alive of a black woman and her detached skin stuffed with straw. It has witnessed the setting on of dogs. It has witnessed the thin-top lips of white men speaking lies in a stolen land where the slave of smallpox eliminated thousands of the Indians of Mexico. The Spaniards in the forward footsteps of Cortez and Balboa in search of the gold-filled cities of Cibola by the conquering hearts of disease found in Hispanico a dark-skinned survivor till he met the Zuni who gave him his death to keep tight in the rot of his skin dark as night. We all are a guilty group of men that have rend the end of other men. Search my pockets and you will find my sins that I mean to write away with my pen. Earth has witnessed the Peruvian slave Ocraque caught in the throat of the New World birthing itself in an old land of native that knew the land's secrets and the sacred span of the ocean's occasion that did not care to enslave the mulatto fishes conspiring to kill a Jamaican slave dealer dealing in contraband goods of incoming rose ale stolen from the controversies of smuggled blacks against the Asiento of 1696 when the grievous voice of a single moment of an ancient summer bloom the sive and obscure grace of the slaves before the rebellion dragged through the streets to the doorsteps of Lumberstead Convent where the nuns have forgotten how to wait for the vivacious boys of the city that loved each other's under the midnight moon. Forever a frightful barrier of the mysteries of darkness, O beautiful darkness of El Cimarron, the frightened miracle will vanish under the shame of the philosophers exterminated godlike boorish demons that will kill wisdom. Earth has witnessed the muddy migration of swollen grass nibbled by zebra stripes crying crocodile when the wilder beasts stampeding the riverbed crying out to the long-held union of rain and fresh grass. Earth has witnessed the clogging night that once issued forth a convulsion of stars in the Mulacon's expenses paid to the cat's meow national anthem waving like a flag of bumblebees on the petal of the flowers. Tears. Earth has witnessed the wordless flute playing the hymen of a performed plantation of workhorse rose ales in the disembarking from the ship of escaped tongue. It has witnessed the coming forth from the eyelashes of the eyes of Tmu breaking the lockstep of perpetual and perfusive slavery to the cotton and sugar mills, muscles pushing against the freedom of the hand to tend to its own work of the body in a free society. Entangle in the perforations imprinted on the executioner's tongue. Earth has witnessed the black steeper brown and the fertile dirt where grows the difficult calculation scheme of who is a mestizo, who is a castizo, who is a mulatto, who is a morisco, who is a jibaro, who is an Albarizado, who is a Cambujo, who is a Zambigo, who is a Calpamulato, who is a Tente and Air, who is a Noti and Hindu in the skin of a wayward wind blowing its breath toward the caste strung along the bloodline of a psychotropic acting out its magnetized fluid encased in the dark body wishing to be burnt by the sun's holy thanksgiving. Earth has witnessed the triangular feud of Yankee machinations, Yankee gathering all cults, Yankees evidences held in the contemporary idolatry of selling everything on and under the sun under the new moon white. People will always do what is right for you. Earthrags witnessed the banking house of Welcher selling slaves to the cuneiform of hallucinogenic idols, looking for deviations in the extensive exopsychic knowing of a god that had seen man marking his territory by sacrificed testament of pissing on the street. Earthrags witnessed the premature habitation of effigies, molded in meter poetry for the rational transcendent tradition of a squirrel hiding its stores against the approach of winter, telling that it can tell time as we tell the Hail Marys. Hail Jesus, full of magisterium, patient for earth. Earthrags witnessed the jealously guarded and trusted body of itself, represented by the eye of a ruby-crowned kinglet mistaken for a warble wintering, where the little breviary of the holy incantation cannot die on the tongue of a lay person, where the 15 mystery of the holy rosary of the good news gospel of resisting those natural appetites which besiege the souls to be bounded by the dissolving ice at the edge of the once peaceful proliferating northern sea of survival. O woman, Eve, rib of my eye, O woman, Mary, mother of man and God, behold the migrant passerine, small flight of audacity, its sluggish hunger hung on the taste of the 10 Commandments. Prostitution perched beside the grandiose prejudices of life in the skein of the world earth of a fourfold season, dropping humiliated snow and stranded leaves and desolate rain and self-conscious flower petals to the nightly slugs drowned in a tin of beer, sprawled out in the astonishing mute shadows of a fragile darkness hiding in the corner of human authority. Man alone cannot triumph over earth, known by its water and blood, its breath of Alleluias, Alleluias. The Lord has indeed arisen, saying the same things to the big-boned hollow chatter in the erotically ear-preened with a child living inside the closeness of getting free. Earthrag witnessed night, confessed to thee of your stress in the restless bliss dealt and felt by the melt of the moon, riding the river of a righteous storm that shall deliver you from the tomb. When you give ear to the words of God's, let my people go the way of the mercy that knows that man is guilty. Let my people go where God's cold is rolled across the heart-broke shore of your heart, and your tongue-told bone hold the smartness of your art, crucified on your pride beside the fire of your breath, when death call you to the company of the Master, and there your past shall blast asunder the light of your right eye, rolled down the shut forever run of the last sun. Earth Terra Mater under the domain of Toulouse and the fertility of Sears in the month of April, fooling the Gregorian calendar of the 19th, footing into thinking that all the lost years with their scant seconds silently scatter across the docile meaning of the body. Earth Mother, Earth Father, Earth with all its skein of conflagration, living the good fat life that only Earth can give to its breath-downed inhabitants, its ocean fumaroles ignition that died and floats submissively to its commands issued as a hurricane of wind and water, blinding the hunger of the air to be filled up with a desire for war, with Lazarus falling sick, with the saving of the sorrowful soul but truthful spirit and body, suffering the healing salvation of rain on the face asleep. The rain keep its laments, and on the rime of 7 heaven where the together weather of your emotion toiled in the soil of the flesh that went bent in the lush thrush brush of a rush, winning the praise of the gods. Weather, my fair weather friend, my everyday companion, we were each other both night and day, were each other both fair. Earth of a packing house where the cold pill is due to heal, the oracle of Abu, the hypothesized possibility found in the age of naming, where the astonishing wrongdoing of watching television is held tight against the fatigued night, unable to sleep but must continually move toward the birth of daylight itself. The roving angel waiting to be lit up, the promise of rain is heard on the breeze, a sleepy thing easing its way southeastward. The sky crack open in a flood of emotion, and the clouds give birth. All is not lost along the long string of rain that break open on the concrete where puddles reflect rain, embracing the air with a sun to sing where its refrains scare with a flare the lies prize of vows on the boughs of spring's wings that roar ashore pour its chorus centils and on the prime slime of life on the shoulder of the beholder, bolder than its brother, as a mother nursing, as a father protecting, as a lover sharing the house of the heart, the cage where age finds its full measure, that dwells and fell in the flesh there where wind us down to the rare air of the end of the wind, and we make amend to our rescued friend, overwrought by the hand of the land, where the burial of an oak is stroked, where the watery bed is bred from snow, where the sea swells will is the joy of a poor boy, and everywhere the round motion of air's breath is caught in the seamanship of a forsaken, wakened by the thunder down under, seeming redeeming of the eternal burn. My soul remember the greenish yellow path in the Tibet mountains of Korea, the colonized bells, the sad Buddha among the fall foliage, and the white beaches of Jeju. Knew the remembrance of blood on Port Shot Hill, deceased Renaissance memories, the empty lights of a bygone day I paid for. My days, all 54 years of them, the wreckage of the Immaculate Virgins. As a poet I tell all of my secrets. I caught herpes from a Korea whore, a business girl I picked up in a GI bar in the village of Tongdocheon, where the redemption by wild fire, water, wild women, and wild drugs, the cargo of the American soldiers on leave from Camp Casey on an overnighter, pass a turtle sleeping in the dinner plate bed of a whore, once an immaculate virgin. Do she ever contemplate the consistency of her trade, the sharing of a naked skin earth with its eyes to the ground, watching over fresh graves turned out of their skins, in the last holy art of reasoning that the sons of Ganymede are going to war against those who will kill the eagle rather than let the voluptuous beautiful cupbearer into their aesthesia invented heaven, where only the Catholic claim that they can go, where the shittim wood overlaid with gold housed in the smited lawn of sex. It shall come to pass that all shall be seen as sisters and brothers in the midnight hour of our forgetfulness. The kind mind shall triumph in the season of our faithful reason, when earth birthed the exultation of our salvation, and we know that the tender slender flocks of flowers, the thunder of colossal colors, fit for the eyes of bees that fly, the scented wife reply, the handsome face of a flower's grace drift as lift by the wind that roam without a home, sing long of the wind with a song overflowing with the first communion, for nature is the Godhead of the almighty consolation, the royal ration, the blooming, fuming, consuming years of tears. She his mouth and ears divine, she is the first and the last of life, all imposing power that cover all, none can step outside, none can go past, there is no knowable knowledge without her celestial power. She is the present living God of gods, she is Isis and Bast, Nymersa and Ishtar, Devi and Shiva, Artemis and Athena, Grona and Bridget, frail and full of Mary and Iris. She is God, my father, my mother, wedlock as one. Earth has witnessed man claiming the tree of knowledge to discern the supposed scientifically hidden face of God, when the face is all about him, to be seen in the skin of trees, in the flesh of water, in heart of dirt, in the forgetful voice of the wind, and the consumption blood of mosquitoes, in the restless pumping heart of the conflagration of bees, in the motion of ants' knees, and the breath of a fly buzzing about busily about the business end of the day, where our breath feeds the trees that feed in return. In this union is to be found the sensual air trap in the lung of a newborn, the birth of a tree, the birth of a child, both a holy thing, brother of the other, joy in the birth of a boy, joy in the birth of an all kind and kind. In the flung flame of a tongue by defiance name, she is the same that cannot know shame, with justices and with grace she keep to her pace strong, she cannot do wrong. Earth has witnessed the eternal, eminent and minimal minute broken down to where we are. holding fast in its circumstance of a mythological relationship that rationalized the passing of a prophet's minaret into the cries of the faithful whose mouth is full of begging prayers. The world now is forever fat and full of begging, while we no longer call to the spectral sun in ephemeral rebirth to save us from the cyclone orgasm ragging across the face of earth. We are we born there where the concern that turned on the tip of our minds in the hour of our greatest need. We plead you, God, never seen our needs. Betwixt the fixed mixed rife of life and on the element of laws that draw praise to the supposedly only way, but the poets say rest in the breast of the breath you who do through your daily lockup live. Look to the very birth of your union, look to the everyday God, immaculately full of worms, God of the shared air, the understood undertook motherhood of the flood of blood in the veins. The mystery of the Nazareth is not the same, for he requires a far-flung heaven and not the wondrous robe of the globe with its good heart playing the part of the will still in the flesh. The marvelous conceived before the year that man was born. We are a latecomer to the Godhead. Earth has witnessed the black Jesus darken in the desert where he faced himself, facing the demons in the vaporish visions that beset the souls of men along in the worthy world where spirits fight for our attention in the heat of the sacred bull-baited battle waged on the head of a pin. With them I have taken my vigils by the throats where once they was my yokes when I was living for pleasure in the dull disgust of conformity, where my soul betrayed me for the wealth of money in a work-a-day life, and I declare war on St. Louis with poems is my mercenary acquaintance and weapon. I want to return the jungle to the city, to flood the building with wild desires, washed and worn down by nature, ever seeking to reclaim the earth as its own in the underbelly of our industrialized society of nigger neglect, found in the mind of the rusty redneck. Dusty words willful on the tongue, tossing their stale naked meaning to do harm. Some words flow with guilty blood, peddling fake fullness fast past the thirst of words, rooted in the breeding ground of fornications, copulations of tough love and tight nuts in the sex of the streets. There is a rough need to get it up in life based on the hard-on emotional music of the moon, where the abstractions of the technocrats is looking for their affirmation of the imagination of being betrayed by a kiss. When the boredom of the masses have a grip on the past, they will not riot the future. They seek to harness it with their pockets wet with pennies. They heed the poor prophet poet with a hidden face, the king of the tireless kisses that makes the children faint right beside my Romanian drums that know music they used to hide. How could they have betrayed you in the night where no man come? You know that your fingers' nails never lie about a son that must die, like the loves that have fallen throughout the years. I am pushing off all the demonic desires that used to scream within me beside a tender doing that love will kill, for the two will set her on a fit dream of the few free individuals whom wholly successfully exploits nature, dig her inside out, suck her dry with the romanticism of protest. Like Lillian laughing her elongated love of men who themselves go weeping, a million strong man tears from the wet before the weeper jurors, messiahs that call you to follow them into the new attitude, to break open the stereotypes that you have bred into son's heart, the only child in this system where the paganism of Palermo stone break on the footsteps of Kafer, sitting in words by the way of the grand Caucasian consensus, squandered by the blowtorch of a hissing funnel, multicolored stamped of gods, exhausted by the solidity of a dazzling tender water, where desires of possibility supporting the absolute climate of a sharpened wind's precision, and the gods have forsaken the birds of de facto broken down region of the last religion, describing irreconcilable angry, and it have made man the outcast with his prostrations of the sacrificial prayers and The fashion of a delivered message is dominant dialogue, disappearing day by day into the human mentality of a widespread auditory hallucination, telling us to be kind to each other under the profound auditory rules of the Old Testament, under the old Babylonian objective wisdom, addressing the formalistic solidity, sumptuous and frenzied lightning, foaming a call brushed by the skin of the forever water that washes away the fragile face of the behavioristic needs with their recognition of a godly pounding Odysseus heart, marvelous and forever supporting the wild impulses of an enraged throat where words bloom beyond the strong logic. Madness of a giant radiant absolute wish to belong under the supporting roof of the to not break the cockhole of a brain growing beside the sensual sensitive sea of the mentioned mentality, burst in the belly of a radiant laughter of yellow which ruthlessly dominate the grid of a darkened withdrawal. From all that you guess will be the death of you, fall into form from the formal answer characteristic of the lost question, playing pranks and looting the mores rogues of the subsidized machinery of the popular phlogistic phobic police, pounding the beat of a burning candle cradled in the arms of the creditor that holds the notes of your soul. In cold blood shall he douse your heated passions with the money paid to the informer poets that have betrayed in a hell of hypocrisy the poets, his fallen archangels of the individual, looming egotistical longing for fighting the dull commercial conformity daily brought and sold to the common weakness that it engender in the limitation of the poor, who cry out for quarrelsome quantity over qualified quality, while the poet cry out in disgust for a serious self-reflection of themselves, his victims, his spectators under the social codes. Of being a good citizen, the poorest of the poor are too busy being poor to be excited by the execrable excesses of the self-righteous riches of the rich, of the bulging bourgeois belly-birthing leaning leaders of society's official view of the gratification of itself, while the poet, venturing far from the conventional to find himself, find that he is alone in the symbolizing myth of the worldly real world, woven wiry around the wounds of the naked. Cities verging on the insanity of glass and steel, of the immortal boredom of mountains of bricks, while in the nocturnal shadows in the green soul of the forest of the wilderness, mysteriously divine in its strikingly similarities of the madman's attempt to murder the daylight of the granite eye. Of a stature to the flesh of the war dead, swollen in the half-light irrepressible tornado, torn and tattered by the barefoot voice of a mirror, relaxing its reflections of anger, sleeping in the armored flower, assuming the position of freedom under the embrace of the sun's storeroom of alchemy, found in the confinement of a screaming rain, with its generosity of rusting the machines of rotten flesh, with their sterile spectacle attitudes of regrets that rest in the vast pathetically ghost of the host's mirage. Behold the hideousness of the mythical mysterious monsters of the rival to the state that take their castration and strive beside the universal dream of man's myth. His psychic needs, solitary and sedentary, against the calamities of the primordial unconsciousness of the chaos of the libido poet that fight the battle for us, always tormented psyche, fighting the monistic monolithic monster of the state. Is struggle toward the animalism harmony, relieving itself in the mouth of man's pettiness beneath the statuesque beauty of the sky, where the battle to discover a meaningful identity of the lonely voyagers who find society shallow and repellent is in love with the terrible unbearable parable mother of the dark self and the terrible father of tyrannical authority, suppressing rebellion against the status quo of the state of an order world in need of its imposing will of unvoiced scandals. It require the people to prostrate themselves sprawled flat beneath the bitter brightness of the boredom of our Daily lives in the hesitant flow of a recalcitrant old color, ancient in a trafficking, ancient as a shipwreck in an age of flight across the difficult metamorphosis of rain clouds quivering in a corner of the inlaid bluish communication of the fragile gifts of the clarity of the two. Ed sky filled with the wood butcher's color cutting down the forest of a midnight rest. Earth has witnessed the telltale heart of a drunken betrayal frozen in a minor key where each stepping note gather unto itself the last frost-knocking green squeezed from the heart of a leaf hidden in the warm fog of a ground-based cloud-kissing windless what cannot be destroyed by eyes focused on the head of a lost penny. I have taken my scorpion flowers to mark the naive pains that reigns with their helplessness of implication firmly rooting in the blast of a radio's erotic dreams of violent lip service, a respect for bending over the strobe, watching my emotions come to a soft boil full of materialistic outcast, taking the long ride deep inside poet prophet solitary wanderer pushed to become a criminal with the growing opportunities that excites him to be one wanted by the state that deny him. Throw your head over the deck. The black porters are polite, the guards follow him around, but he ain't got nothing at all but what he done paid for. The old by force of life move about slowly, it's all about the flesh of things living and dying by the absurd force of it all. A nameless motion toward the breath of an inner instant innocent of nothing when wrinkles are moving across my limbs, when the circulated cracking of skin of prurigo busting at the black seam bricking the poor up in their bricked over sky with its unknown deadly silent hunched in a corner. Earth, you're burning, you're coming to grip with yourself, your sweet swallowing green hair calling for a crake full of your breath exchanged one by one toward the kicking night, fighting for its place among the many-sided lights shining into a dance performed by bees that have forgotten to sleep, where an attack take place across the barricade of a flower dressed up for the motion of stopping dead in the tiny hands of a newborn's worth against the memories of our elegant elders' hands, asking the reflection in the mirror, what am I doing here? Why do I stand in the looking glass and see the face that I make? What is behind this reflection caught in time, this flesh that seek the divine maker of the mind? What be this me equal to the marriage son, the one for all men are equal of the flesh? All must rest and drew breath, all must feed and be fed upon, all spirits show and clothe the transmittable light of the soul. The blind mind can know the dear atmosphere of the God, the eye does not lie. See your God day by day in the way you go about the daily breathing it, and count this not as a sin. The Godhead seep within the Godhead, salt of the tears vault, the cold souled, the old day stare of man's knowing the him dim in the daylight of sight, dim within the glorious light of the sun. The sky air they're full of prayers, the wild child born in a civilized city, a black wind packed to wreck a mound full of motion, the mortal beauty of a hand, the warm form of the brain, the storms that swarm the land, the greater part of the human heart, the guess no less working of art, the express bliss of a kiss, the icon man of the church, the foot trot of would-be gods, the grief that know no relief, the chief that sin is brief, cheap, all small things that creep, all that sleep, the dear life held near strife, the joy far flung from a willing heart, the days spent and where it went, your breath locked lament, the task ask of you to obey, the killing of will and day. Day the mast we play, the steel prick of a dip, the bare thick rage in an age of war, all feces are within the care of the gods, the pair that lay together bear the spark in the dark that leave no mark on the skin of the sky. The resurrection of a dejection, the ash of trash of man, the shield of a field of trumpet that play the day away, the increment event carried out behind the door, the lust that shake and break the wake of rain, the glory story of our birth, the tamed name Of our inner flame, the fussy noise of the rain that strongly came in the early spring of a sun to sing the wrong of an explanation of inspiration brought on by the creation of a misplaced bliss. Earth, my fair weather comrade, my companion, my intimate longing is all for you. Earth, my comfortable stone, where the pinpoint stars of pinpoint dreams feeding off the succulent flesh of consciousness tells the waking hour to keep its silent hushed in the breath of a clock counting counterclockwise the heartbeat of eyes asleep in the blackish night, caught in the closed lagging lids where you are forever turning your singular head to face the wars raging across your face. Your rain blood is the blood of the Immaculate Conception fighting its way in a book of poems waiting to be read by the yet unborn. My hysterical weather, my concentrated living with the abrupt eyes of rain containing each drop a reflection of the approaching earth, each drop contain the memory of the sea. Oh, my privileged lover, you are a bouquet in the throat, you are an undue anxious song in the ears. You are a heavenly heaviness in the heart of wristy hands cupped to feel the slightest quake of your immense body, bold in its aspect, down by the cosmos beckoning. All my snoring songs are for you. Earth, witnessing the last granular sugar glowing against the frown kept by Avores Maximus writing the violation of his objected father, where Cicero, familiar with male love, kept in a yellow hammer's beak in the southern pine, where Camellia in its ancient scent keep Claudia praying for the music of the Rebecca strung across the gun camera, where all the muscles that I can muster I give to you, my lover, my faithfulness, my beautiful mother, with trees in your hair and your blood making its way to the sea. My mountainous journey is all for you, as Antinous loved Adrian. So are you the wonder of my small world, and I am caught in the grip of your blizzard passion, storming me over into the thunderous downpour downrange of your hurricane, raging its way in the blood-locked veins of my body, where I breath in your breath and give it back to the tress waiting in silence for the exchange. You are my lascivious lover, you are the way of all knowable knowledge, you are the face and body of the knowable good God that goes about its secret duty day by day without end, and I am wonderstruck by your bountiful beauty as my watertight skin cries out for your touching. I am man caught within your grip, made by your hands. Without you I cannot stand to stand alone. Earth, the divine gift of advertising itself and good health and enthusiasm of growth to cover every inch in its need to feed and be fed upon by the living, dying a death that they had never died before. In the key of life is the whisper of the bated breath bathed in a better banana bean between a sentimental summer spread as a season green, and a handsome voice vibes speaking to the vibrancy of the sky filled with the willow trees, motion of wind. Sing your mysteries, sad silence sung that I catch with my mouth. Fill me up till I am as fat as the edge of the world, all gathered up pulp. Plum marvelous jump the alluvium, unlimited fire of a rekindled vegetation found in the wild metamorphosis of the disappearance, quivering weather wanting to be itself when the romantic artist hero's rebellion is a quest of the object ego toward the saving of the world. The poet's lonely vision is alienated by his self-preserves turned man of the street hero with his breed a speak that takes a moment of triumph to take the breath away, half fool, half visionary, half full of envy and anxiety for the ego, the price to be paid for acting out against the ordinary and conventional, for doing battle with fears personified as demons that seek the shape of reality turned inward. Earth and its noise of the sublimate desire of the flesh and of silent ripping as wind on a pond with its minute life swimming toward the crowed depth where life keep its stronghold tight in the gases of the elemental word nature, roused by paganism in their glorious visceral needs of the last bastion of poets caught within the symptom and symbol of selfhood for his fellow man, his values representing truth forgotten of the introspection, intellectual self-contemplation needs needed to become a hero, transcending the grey grievous fault found in the confinement of conflict between himself and society. He loves to serve the world in spite of its dominant indifference. He is a wishful worshipper of words, quick to quarrel, the best known dramatization of the paradox of turning the material of his lonesome art life into his art with an animal grace. He goes about the world as one, put into the mind of others, feeling the pains and joys of his sisters and brothers with their seductive banalities, their dead flat lives lived without serious reflection on their fate within a society that will betray all who find poetry to be a revenge on life, and betray the poet trying to redeem and recreate the world through his suffering, through his self-tortured soul, and not with the little dignity of the simple-minded. The poets must earn their crosses, they must be purifier of the sluggish matter of daily life played out in the fickle and fatal world. Earth has witnessed war after unyielding wars of man against man. Earth is full of the hostile literature of war, of the heartbroken grief on the deadbed of a dream of war, thought in the head when the self cannot reconcile its own divinity against the animalist nature of man, on the deathbed of unfamiliar inhabitants of heaven that gave birth to war, on the deathbed restructured harmonious erotic passion of war, on the deathbed of the authority of the burnt sacrifice of war, and more wars of man, the last warring beast of war of desire, the interplay of war, the masquerade masturbation of war, the suicidal sexual preference of war, the scriptural of war studied in the halls of a war school, the sodomy of war fucking itself, the determinative morality of war. The impious enemies of war are warring against the contemptible clandestine treatment of war. Oh my man's man, why do you study the barely bestiality of war? Why is your hands full of the instruments of war? Why is your heart on heart filled with the richness of war, feeding off the testimonies of Christ and Muhammad, whose followers flight the war of forgotten prayers of loving your brother? Earth has witnessed nights in her thoughts eating the paschal meal to symbolically filled nights belly full of stars, and the wayward comet of a thought sweeping its way across the divine knowledge of the neo-pagan self-healing heart, pumping the blood of the deserted moon that cannot contain it or illuminate light. The distance is sucking up all the light that lend its heaviness to the select air of an untamed hour, broken by the grey stone of the dead dusty moon shimmering beside a beneficent cathedral, where Easter raising is folded into a cross made of palm, where the confused reality of the delusion of stale rigid religions that cannot aspire itself cannot escape the sterility of a grounded necessity of the soul of shy and weak eyes that cannot know while watching the passing of an ordinary egotistical routine, critical of its own passing beside modern man, irrational and absurd with the demonic false expectations that lives within him. Even the artist, as tragic sufferer, as lonely doer in the dark, blows with his mythic implication of the sick knowledge of the world that he lives in. His abnormality will through his art come to aid the self-centered nature of normality. The poet, sick to death of the warring nature of the priestly asceticism that enslaved the painful joy, that ingratiated itself with the moral stature, inherently compassionate toward the dangers and disasters of the mass society. Overwhelmingly mad poets are heroes by negation, by neglect, by the nasty little secured secrets that the government keeps about what is bad, what is good, displaced in blind and conspicuous nature that have become the very thing that it attack. Earth has witnessed the air pollution of its brain and its skin of anesthesia feeding its way across the boundaries of a hand held fast to the capability of the morrow which comes on its own accord and wake the dead like sleep of birds dreaming of woven worms and seeking seeds and schooling their young in the art of living off the earth in a fat year of plenty underneath the umbrella tree. The uvula is sweet and tasty and beneficently bare of bones where the air is thickest with the choice chocography mapping of commitments held in the loan of air from the lung of bully birds in bare trees and under eaves of homes where the vulviform voracious voices of children hint at the waffling of warmth that plays with them as common as public violence in America's is a crippled lotting wind whirling its willful way past their playful plasticized plain sung with the tainted air in their throat. They go about the momentary jubilate not tellingly teach them about the way of living a life within the wonder of the whole wide world. Earth has witnessed more than the familial poets in their small brain work can fathoms more than the mind can comfortable conceive in its mistakenly all-knowing, all-seeing, all-riotous wisdom woven by the brain cells of time can comprehend. It has witnessed man thinking himself the chosen probate people made in the idiocentric image of a faraway God with nothing better to do than to look in wonder after the doings of man trying to eagerly escape to the faraway startling stars of the unknown life in the universe's electricity that fires the poet's companions as he walks virtually unrecognized among us with his essence and obvious mystery describing the urban chaos of the commonplace. They do not emerge as unscathed but scared over from the hell that they endures with sadness falling from their faces for the small satisfactions afforded us in a bountiful society that mocks and scorns them. Have they made of themselves a cliché, a parody of their dead brothers now in books dusty on the shelves of the souls, knowing that the hero as quester, as wanderer, as exiled from the stagnation and futility of modern life that mocks the possibility of an impression of truth about the origin sin committed against the physical environment of the littleness of life.
Part 4.
Part I. I am caught in the masturbation's convulsion where the seeds of my yet-to-be sons are simmering into the light to die on the white towel, and all my body's functions cry out to the temerarious temper that keeps me capable of fathering children, fathering the common sense of poverty and the abrupt cadence of buried hunger held in the heart of a heated physiology. High on the art of tissues where you are free to go and fill yourself up with 1,000 happy wooings small enough to fit in silver thimbles wrenched within a pressing love respectful of the wasted years of yearning for a lightly learned longing lost from the fair side of a seldom honored, dethroned in the wrong of a heaven on earth that enter its plea for the beautiful woman conveniently employed by a courtship. Be you marry in your wooing like a stamp in gold the very riches that cannot fight love. Be you such a man as to tell the story of a woo one in the world of respect for words that moves a woman's mind. Be you extolling the grace of angels to win a woman's beauty with the integrity of tears and a seldom sigh, feeling the lines that force the heart to sing. Did I give you a heart made of stone? Did I give you my love that doesn't last too long? Did I take away your faith when I made you wait? Didn't I make you my king to share the rule? Didn't you only wanted to take me to school when I'm too young to be singing the blues, but seem like I'm old enough to be your fool, full enough with the cool blue blues, red blues, green blues, blooming a yellow unconditional propose of thought that fight its way out into the splendid motion of words held by the justice of the ear. The war bar of words fighting among themselves is not to be lifted in the lurch straightly falling to the thicket of dead thoughts where the god hair dying out after their season of being one with the world, the soul within you, the enemies within you, the children of impotent revolt within the singular soul that do battle with the flesh concerning the battle in heaven for the souls of men. I was caught by the pill's promise against an ill of the soul, and when it was done by the light of a brass spittoon, I saw the glitter of the machine sun shining its quivering thunder to the victorious trumpet that played for the lost queen of the Nile. Where fate by fate's promise is fulfilled, where the water is spilled, where the spillage is still stalled on the river bank of a dream of letting things out to do their wanting work, worth all the wonder of the united universe, ignorant of the pressures of the conventional morality, of the arrogant self-pitying homebound and humane hunt for a god that had no oppressive opposition to the poetic flesh of sensible sex for sex's sake of the sexagenarian. I was caught in an Ethiopian skein as dark as a developing storm raging over a candle's flame stiffening its legs. In the barbaric air of now knotted with impuissant clouds reflecting the street light somewhere, Kemet had forgotten the meaning of its name under the rules of foreign rulers who ruled out our saint ancestors, whose surrealistic spiritual survival what depended on the living who had all but lost their color in the black Africanism of the dirgeful dirts sung to the lost children, homeless and alone with their swelled bellies bloated as a blob moon seen through tears of a right hunger hanging on the tongue. I was caught in a breeding hunger in the belly of the moon, where the secret boredom of a nocturnal word lay luminous beside Earth's reflected light, and the nightmare night goes nipping on the edge of an eyelash, long and luxurious and loose as a longe of whose longitude exhumed by the ferocious evidence found in a ruptured madness of a senseless killing that raise its head in the everyday working. That is the American way of doing life. The gunshots ring out across the face of the city. The cry from the barrel of the gun is a plea that does not ask for forgiveness. 30 dead at a university. The 9mm murder on the streets of knowledge. I was caught by the richness of bread in the belly of death, full of harvested dead ears of corn and the Last Supper's nourishment, singing Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. O brethren scribes, it is no more than we desire in the words that we place between the beautiful majesty and the magnificent bounty of life and death being their self in the ancient cognizable circle. of pot of death, your nails are filled with the dirt of the last of living, laying with last breath cocked, O beloved Son, reigning with thee, let Paul's witness touching the gentle Gentiles guide us to the guilt abode. Let us be able to know the galaxy's absence, wanderings, the fraternal space that silent make the timeless innocence of a black hole, the breath of the blue globe, the standing scum that holds its bit of the holy glory. I was caught by wine's rejoicement, hidden in the veins of a peaceful drinker, sleeping in the doorway of misplaced time, dreaming of more wine and the vine that entwined the last spoken words before falling outward onto the wet pavement. The homeless with their honest history are fleeing the raiment rain's rampage, raging downward from a boastful busted cloud that leak its load into the cold. Do we care to know where the homeless goes when the silent cold blows against 1,000 souls with their wants of a warm roof, a fire to sat beside in the darkness of an abandoned building that scarcely remember the lives that once lived within? With the drinker we began opening a bottle as within the memories of his hands drink to the bones, fumble and rest heavily on the thigh. I was caught and held accountable for the Lord's body and blood, seen in the sacrament of a token race that ate manna in the desert of drunk mountains, where the announcing forest gives shattering shelter to the vespers conclaims of thank be to glory of God the Supreme, Creator of the light and darkness that lend a preparing way to the uniting morn and eve that blade them both. We call the day, let us pray to the fathers, daughters, and sons, all that is living under the sumptuary sun, the whole secret of the Father's kindness kingdom. For all life is kindred, be it red or green blood, in the venational veins of living things, none above, none below. All the children are equally loved, all that drink the water of the rain, all that absorb the warming rays of the sun, and that self-same self-giving self-generator of light is the self-fulfilling gentleness of the Lord. I was caught by the dark color of coffee that flooded my eyes in a rage of bowel movement, filtering the Mississippi in its rushing run toward salvation's seed sown by the teaching of the Holy Spirit, singing a hymn to the electric untouchable water from the angel's eyes. When man hath forgotten to give them their due praises, they cannot go their way without the witness of man's personal prayerful permission entering the wings of their ears. They live within the playfulness of our forgiveness in the heart of our mind. How they kept divine dressed in the fine clothing of a rhyme. Their speech gather about us where two or three are gathered together in their names, where the five pillars holding up the celebrating food of God, where Gabriel and Michael and Israel and Azrael announce the coming of the Lord. The angels record your deeds, all you're doing under the sun. They miss none, going before, going behind, all between Radwan and Malak, the mystical seats where believers shall find their final rest, keeping the company of the worst and the best. I was caught by the perfect flower's ancestral cynosure of intellectual beauty, frozen in a milkweed seed, where the sweet secret sweat of needs to spread with the wind's speed is a thing unto itself. My car, examine me, I am a lovely yet lonely seed in the wayward wind and herd, heading toward the gravid grave of your domain, a sudden refugee of anarchy, looking for the new heaven to be found on earth, where the washing of the mouth ceremony is renewed by the city god, where the dead Osiris voice is heard in the wings of a bee, heading toward the 4 o'clock, heard in the buzz of a following fly, heard in the song of a morning dove, heard in the scamper of a squirrel up the trunk of an old muley, Aberdeen Bulgarian, full purple fruits, hanging a free gift from nature for birds and squirrels. A like your desires are as wild as a spider's instinct to web. They are sticky to catch, to coach and collide, when the web tinkled too heavy to hold a full load of a little night music told to the serenata nocturne, dancing of the bees toward the blossom with its white wild beauty. The wilderness is everywhere, from the fly buzzing about my bedroom to the line of ants across the kitchen floor. The more we try to shut it out, the more Chopin's Opus 9 number to follow the fly. The ants are marching to the tune of finding food, and if I was a whisper I would blow a low soft porgy and best summertime into your ain't necessarily so. Ears cocked to crawl across the blues falling from gospel in the church of the Hail Mary full of grace. The censer smoke with its self-doubt skirving where the red robes split the smoke into the Hail Mary full of grace. How does your garden grow? Tell your son if he does not know that the poets have come to right a wrong done in appurtenance to war, the suffice of youth giving its life, the sacrifice, the almost suicidal listening of the sensitive thumping a wind done found itself into my empty pockets, kind of a thing keeping me company when I step without a rhyme, without a time signal, found in the erratic motion of falling forward in a dance with her. I got a wonderful feeling that I got one more mile to go. I was caught by the brilliant memory of a butterfly's metamorphosis, published in the dream shelter where imminent immigrates of the sun, and the insecure institution of the first word spoken fell upon the children of Israel. Let there be light, said the soft flesh of the future wind. Let the whispering of waves be upon the world, the embodiment of hallucinated advising voices, empathizingly implict with gaiety. Let there be man, said the pusher shepherd of the underlining undying host. Let him not depart from the smoking shadows of the awesome answer to life, caught in the spell Of death let the children of the sun find their cut under the burly burning fumaroles, forgotten and forgetting the fatigued wonderful working of the earnest earth. I was caught by Pharaoh's dream of the begotten corruption, turned to withstand the affliction of the admonitory function of the Sodomites burning in the church of the effeminate papal's decree tattooed on their skin of the fat-bellied priest, where the conquistador's contemptible consumption for the desires of the native gods was blinded by the golden hunger of their own bloodthirsty polished plasticity of God's corruption, sacrificing the thou shalt not kill in the name of the calling of savages and redskins. Nearly naked in the heat of the green light of the juicy jungle, I was caught by the sumptuous penances of genetic blood flowing in its madness down the tiled corridor of laughter, where is heard the deafness of stars fitted out in the greater darkness that is a holy thing in its own right, and the rightness of a humble homeless wild woman's suffering for a life is fitted out in the desensitized darkness of street. Lewis, her divided desires is for a wareroom's warmth and food. She waits in the collateral cold at the bus station, a Jonesy journey never taken. She wait the shrill arrival of a bus from the good life, full of the welcoming wellness that she knows will come. I was caught by the unfathomable horizon, rejoicing to be renewed by the beautiful ancestors of the flowering razor's response to a new day. Let the sunlight cut its way at the edge of darkness, fleeing the space that it holds captured. Let the earth's restless motion command the working of man to lay his worrying head toward the cone that points his sleep, and let loose dreams famished and choked and desolate of hope explode by the geometric weight of the particular interest, sacred with its repetitively rhythmical supernatural knowledgeable utterance of the impulses that transpose the daylight scene associations obvious to the eyes awakened by the sound of a cognitive imperative beating to the beat of a hearty heart heard in the ears of the awakening clock. I was caught between the redemption of the precious and clenching memory and passing descent of a wedding splendor hung on the famished vomit of an acute sky, where birds flying like flung feathers tattered to their shadows follow the inbred migration's path written in memory on the roadless sky, with its primitive pattern of clouds enduring the serviceable winds of an integrated individuality, free-flowing, blowing above the crowed underground, where the social reality in its greasy sickness of economic enterprise, both intellectually and physically living by instincts and passion, their hands with their remembrance of the forceful hum of the machines drunk on oil, stripping the poor of their earned energy, the poor in their irritation of making money organized the mute forces of their lives, dreaming of what they cannot buy with the small currency that had driven them below the radar of a fat society, dripping its droppings like a sudden rain shower. They are thrown a juicy bitter bone rich in marrow to keep their eruption wet, so that it will not bust into flames. They are kept in check, tied to the breeding ground, and are told to pull themselves up when the money-greased rungs of the ladder start on the 10th floor, where they are not allowed if they cannot grease the palms of the doorkeeper who check their bank accounts. The poor are against the poor. They are taught to fight among themselves in a blaze of glory for the limited commodity, to lose their motion for self-determination, to keep to themselves the inner frustration. They are a commodity bought and sold, manipulated upon the market, where everything has a cash value, even unique identity. The rebel poet who puts his poem in the mouth of the folio, but they prefer Hallmark. The underground man in his dark damped habitat knows nothing of Dostoevsky. Society forces him into drudgery beneath the weight of a richly dressed bureaucratic house filled with the latest gadgets. Their screams are heard and ignored beyond the gated community, where the poor manicure the static lawns, feed the children emboldened by riches, and wash the expensive dishes and take out the trash. of a throwaway beauty that conjure up a function of a feast set before the anti-hero, forbidden to eat of the bounty born of an idea of commerce where the brutality of the mass manhunt the darkened streets for the weak, such as the sterility and frustration of modern man locked by want of work in the diseased noise of the city. The poet as hero lives among us, ciphering off our misery, rehashing our joys, showing us off. They do not ask to be forgiven or absolved for walking on the outside of social pressure. They go about swallowing the body of our emotions, eating our stupidity. They are drunk on the social alienation of our young. They purge us of our banality. I was caught by the landscape of an axial skeleton playing a concertina of buffalo skin in the last siphoning of an emptied rhetorical answer to the spontaneously slipped thought of a question's deprivation of time, crumbling before mental space can recognize its schizophrenia. Reality, the real thing, is the secret of the breath, the give and take, shyly so simple a thing that is left to its own device, the skeleton hidden house. Our stringent strength, our psychosexual pseudosciences needs pregnant with its own desires to feed off a Tom Waits love song sung to the serious solitude of a moral isolation, causing loneliness for the death of the romantic hero's alienation. I was caught by the knowledge of the computer and held for ransom until the butterflies paid it with their colors. I was caught by the junk mail of the Bible when the dreams of the mulberry tress went weeping for the time of forgetfulness, caught in a sparrow's throat. And the rope that binds time's future, past and present is frayed by the four divine madness that takes hold of the soul. Madness of Eros, madness of Apollo, madness of Dionysus, madness of inspiring frenzy by the muses. Take control of me and let my words flow, the arrogant words of a world, the silent sun-drenched words caught in the eastward ear, the babbling words of a rainbow, the fragile words that knows the indocile snow that blows, the putrefying words that told a tale tepid before it explode, the worried words of where words goes, the squatting words restless and bold, the hunger of words to know their busy meaning, the brutality of words fitfully fighting a foreign war, the essential concentration of joyful words spoken toward love. I love you, I love you, I love you, quickly losing its meaning, the words of raindrops broken on the concrete, the words of wind spiked by tree branches, the words of the sun absorbed by the skin, the words of the moon reflected in an eye, the torpid words prostrate before the drowning of their meaning, the persistent words gnawed by tenderness, the bitter bite of words itching for a fight, the God-given glory of words, the stagnant heaviness of words spoken in the wee hour of a surprise scandal, the devouring words heard in the washing of the sea, words tortured and tongue-tired on the edge of poetry. Dear muses, give me the words to set the soul free. Let my madness speak the working of the world. Let me be the cognitional conduit by which you speak. Let me not hold a tiring tongue, but run with workable words in the underbrush of meaning. I will be your piercing, pious mouthpiece. All for poetry, the poor try alone. Lead me not dry of your boldness. I was caught by the connected, consumed name of Osiris, sleeping for 1,000 years in the make-ready of the Egyptian Book of the Dead by the President tomb in the upper region, established by the cycle of the gods that had made eternity a thing long for. Hail to the coming forth is a soul that lives in the tomb of existence. I am yesterday and tomorrow, held in the eternal present is all my knowing within the dilatation of my needs, the hiding place within the eye of the honest Horus, in the open face of Ra. His rays of light in the uppermost part of heaven is forwardly freely given to the mind of man who hath committed faults, witnessed by earth. He shall pass judgment on his children's impotent revolt concerning the straight way of a shining egg taken away by the lords of eternity. They shall lend their strong glorious transformations of the dead to ferry them across the river Styx, where one man's god is another man's demon, and still all the gods are clothed in many names, still they are the same. A god is a god is a god is a god. Call them what you will. Under the cracked sky, under the foliage screams of progress, under the sensitive escape of childhood, under the sluggish shadows of a breath, under the fingers of the starch wind, under the amused amulet of the mooring hand of the moon upon the ocean, under the sufficient unencumbered property of the body, under the intellectual knowing of a stellar jay and aspen, under the philosophical ruminate of a worm, under the government of bees, under the order population of ants, under all the doing of nature do the gods look in wonder, but still they cannot enter to intercede, while all along knowing our limitation, under the old demons of disorder poets are tricksters to the gods, they are angels made flesh, swift of feet to edge you toward rebellion, they speak our unconscious fears and anxieties, thus expelled from the new order of the great society. I was caught by the triumph bones and limbs of a blue jay recently escaped from the underworld of a fur coat worn by the watcher who looks after the chamber dog, to make a toothpick of its feather, to make a necklace of its skull, and a bracelet of its claws. Waste not, want not, as mutually mature nature make no waste of flesh and stone, always consumed as a consummated deed, or used the feeding of will be fest upon when we give out the ghost of host on the floor of earth, where the tepid, never tiring smoothing heat of the daylight light, escaping the collapsing heat, calm and encircling half the face of earth with its heaviness, held tight in the vast bristling darkness of the faraway heaven, wild and willing to give up its secrets to the dazzled indifference requiem song of motion, light and daunting darkness dense, where they wait against the eyes of a newborn, knowing little of the working of the wholehearted world, with a tasty rain and succulent snow falling like 1,000 alleluias flung by the prayers of wind, whispered in the ears caught by winter's spoken message of mercy. Weather is the fruit of the world, it is an example of freedom beyond us, it is the limb of the whole of the world, waged, paid a suffrage that can rage. Pestilence is necessary to the working, to the whole of the world can only save us, for so long with its sensual longing for a life and death, the latter a formidable response to the former, father death and mother birth, both the newborns shall inherit and come to know. So I was caught by my race, looking for a scapegoat to hang on the teeth of the wind blowing above the bed sores of street Lewis North and Earth section, where I cried out, Earth, I tried not to doubt you, and I tried to ask for your forgetfulness in a lean year when your children died on the stalk before the faces of the birds. I tried to worship you in an assault of prayers prayed to your skin when my breath burned below its animalist longing. I tried to speak for you when it seemed that your salvation was in doubt. Again, the risk that man is willing to take in his needs to use up the forest for the emerging headline of his doing. I tried to rendezvous with your sketched and beautiful seas, holding a bounty of life suddenly born by a transmittable birth in the watery landscape from which all our human life swam. I tried with the smallness of my humble human mind to recognize that you are the divine, that hold man in your sway. O holy, 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 O nature of the disappearing child, nature of the abashed abuse, man's eternal sadness is issued in your use. I was caught between the eastern horizon of heaven and the boundaries of divine food set before a spoken word, equipped with thorns and skin bells ringing everyone to dinner, to dine their bellies full with the knowledge of crises held in the expandable expanse of blackbird's routine, dying the death of the living in due time. All shall know the way of this descending into the earth and it shall be full of the unknotted bones when earth hath eaten our flesh for its own nourishment, and the blood of your naked beauty, primitive and enormous in its astonishing development of ancient tiny fugal figurines of lesser gods, grotesque effigies painted the color of your skin, goddess of fertility now lost in an age of abortion, goddess of exaggerated prognathism when their voices was heard in the eye-to-eye possibility of a fragile executioner that hides his face faster than the persistence fleeing awakened dream fading on the tip of the mind. I was caught by the baptized growth of a broken man and the prophet of the sun in his empty church, where the stained glass of memory is written in blood on the lullaby of night, and the innocence of the pews holding the good book are rooted in the succulent bedazzlement, and vulnerable to the sinners knocking at the doors. The ground wake to the sounding of your steps toward the alias of a church called Laguil. Earth is the house of worship where all your sinecure sins are revealed, and the officiant sun and moon know your doings in them shall be found. Old-fangled redemption, redolent and reductive, all the days of your warm forgetfulness from the cradle to the grave are the changes made toward amendment. I was caught by the inundation of night's sarcophagus, where the enemies of the million of green beginnings caught in the heart of the season of fire, burning itself toward the destroyed gods that rise like red smoke to the blue-gray clouds of rebirth are raining for their lives. Night's geometric folding of darkness cover the bruised earth, bearing the buried innocences common to telling lies of poverty. Under the silent sun's age, under the finally faithful air exhaled to assassinate the counsel of current accumulated in the breath, under the manifested universe born from the first waging word, walloping its way in the empty space of nothing, while nothing is something in itself. Emptiness is filled with itself. I was caught in the splendor of an importunate revolt, driven back into its sour landscape, where it was driven mad by the young green fireflies that preyed on flowers under the cover of darkness, led by a prodigious moon with its flameless lips, with its powerful promises, with its missionary vengeance, its convulsion of light, giving life loudly to the earth, downborn tattered to the world by the majestic hidden hands of gravity, by the trembling silence tugging at the ocean of drunkenness without remorse. The sad-faced clarity of the moon is looking down on street Lewis, hidden in the shadows of collapsed darkness, hollow and horny in the slumbering, daunting personal dreams, roving across unlocked doors of the mind, set free to work their mystical magic of time and spacious inner visual imageries, as thin as thoughts, as wide as the limitless landscape, and the private transparency of the sleeping mind, where the divine meaning of thunder and rain, the strange formation of clouds in dreams, are the speech of silent gods that wait upon the coming of darkness to reveal their holy incantations to those willing to face the dream omen's split of its hidden meaning that quickly fade in the face of the approaching light. The midnight gods in their healing purulence, who slowly their meanings till they solidifies into the justifiable revelation, witnessing to the doing of a blemished blessing, bold and bloated by the blizzard's blooming vitality. I was caught by the vintage wind blowing the ash of a dead love that died when it ran out of dying time, spent on the edge of a living tepid silence, desolated by the muffled half-light of a burning phoenix's symmetries, held near the gods of spoken lies against me, where I have weighted my righteousness in the stability balance against the weight of words, raising from the breath words as tough as molten metal, with its majesty motion of a north wind iron, writing of the god of rhyme in the triumphant royal time, that make an inspection in the temple that performeth the work of the underworld, a world great in its mindful meandering manner, a real world under the feet of the god, journeying from the great mystery of the purified heart, washed in the blood of the righteous judge, that justify the name of the one great God along in his found decision of the way of the very truth that have witnessed the wickedness awash over the world. Gods can only show the way that is the extent of their play with their human prey. They have no hands in which to touch our lives. They have no eye in which to see our sins. They are dumb and blind, and they're speaking only to madmen whose minds are open upon the breath of the heavenly winds, offering food in the temple of their souls that knows the one-on-one cycle of the true and righteous God, nature, the son of no man, crying, come, come, be the one God of our lives. I was caught between the trophy of the past and the estimated roulette of the future, where the die is castled in the funeral fire of a secret burning within, but cannot tell time to save its life in the light hold to the motion of the wild waking wind that witness to the fact that there is no fault in the body of man's knowledge of himself, that the double intent of the angry avenger of a beautiful beloved royal scribe, praising the burial right victorious advocate of a God born to the empty enemies of order, where the hero's dreams of the happenstance of his happiness is hung on the mockery of his vision by the industrialism complex structure of its inhumanity that eat into the consciousness of a capitalist world. This neglected poet as hero, rejected by the industrialized society that painfully gave him birth, is one with the God of the joy noises of an embrace, when everything is about the flesh of the nothing of peace, of the forgettable dissolving nonsense of an invisible instant, caught secretly by the primordial underground man, frustrated by the meaningful sterility of the streets where he peak. His violence of a repeat in the disease of mass society, always looking for a scapegoat in which to hang its murderous discontents of the poor as free-buzzing freeloaders who foreboard the oars of a commercial ship that cannot sail without them. I am caught between a field of weeping dominant demons, decked in dread, that have lost their reasons for being, when man had not forgotten how to blame the cold and curse the organized winds, despise the ocean's fervors round roar, and hold the sun in common contempt, and refuse the flame with a beautiful yellow beneficial burning, because of their satisfied distance of coming onto the land where man had built his homes along the spiked rocks. The fault line of fire is between Tiglath-Pileser the Assyria and Jesus the Jew. It runs though the newborn, whose boom birth forever now down to breathing shall come to break upon the human stage and wage his generational wants and needs against the ruling age, as the ancient that had gone before in their moment of glory in their utile youth, passing the diadem day by day. Youth shall grow to wage their swords words far above the common freight. They shall come to fill life with a thrill, and still their skill above the loud love of man, long and strong in the heart. And rain shall again be in pain when the weight bleed addressed tenderness down near the ground, where thick life keeps its strong hold of the true judgment of heaven. Nature does not repent. Lot has went, lot will come of its own accord. The undone nature of nature keep time tugged tight with life from riverbed and wild woods, from day breaking down on dew-studded blaze of grass to the sleepy eyes of a rock dug under the overpass. I was caught by the early morning final edition, sweeping across the sky in its last aerie, toward a place where 5 weeks are fishing for more time before time tells it to get the hell out of sight of the encrusting roar raging across the length of a moaning monsoon. The riot rain down rain, it's all the same in the weathered game. Come what will, we feel the warmth we willfully want. Lot will come on and on and on. The rain that puts you in a thicket of trance, the stubborn rain in the healthy forest of an incorruptible knowledge of a blackjack oak, the unalterable judgment of rain and wet wind caressing the agriculture of bees, the dead rain of the gutters, the air-touched skin of the rain slicing its way with courage, the thousand eyes of rain on the Dahoon Holly streams. It never rain in my drifting dreams that storm me overnightly with its thunderous news, the noise the gods snoring away their sleep, falling from the encrusting confusion of raw water. I was caught by the judgment challenge of a filler day where the cult of contemporary justifications increasing its tempo spurned by a recalcitrant nostalgic brotherhood of trees went robbing the sky of its moisture in the fulfilling sense of its needs strung around the necks of the mosquito's oligarch. Where blood is the fee to be paid in exchange for displeased disease placed by the female proboscis in the vein of the consciousness of a mental life, where the interior dialogue toward an exterior sensation of our deepest indigent identity is felt by the 60,000 milliseconds with their illusion of time, where we fall in and out of the consciousness of precipitous insight we clinically climb in the mosquito's feeding is found a rhyme toward the continuity of artistic phonemes raptured played out without our knowing. The knowing of the self is a lifelong learning of fitting snugly into one's own skin is the easy part, while the peace of mind is a harder thing to find when the costume of consciousness masquerading beyond the slumbering somnambulistic waking walking its worrying way in the dense darkness, darting in and out of the view of the doorkeeper of an open mouth, where the earth is in its gladness and the beautiful energy of every day is fondly found in the sudden sun, the wandering wind, the moorish moon which is within the cycle of the gods working their wonder. I was caught by the alcoholic mud's consumption lying in the vicinity of a child's hand, where the condition of the negroids is written in the 16th Act of March 16, 1911 of American Law of Mistreatment, the American motion toward violence, the American knowledge of knowing how to sell, how to wage a war with the worried wayless weasel words, spoken wedding of killing and never nervously forgiving the death in the American grain. Williams, Carlo Williams. Your poems sing the voice of the masses who do not know the nonchalantness of your name, in which spring and all plays the game of watching a wheelbarrow blade with rain. There is an uncertainty in Americus toward poetry as mute suddenness saved for the educated, with their deadlocative locomotive gaping at the mindful meaning of the promises of poems written by the intimate inmates of hell, when the poet bring you to silence fading into the air like incidental incense smoke from the sinner's censer held in the hand of your newly naked enemies, who will come to clothe themselves with the unguent earth humble enough before their jailers, doing the busy business of the executor, bustling their gigantic conflagration of poems force-fed with bones and soup and proclaimed pestilence, that sing a song of the intelligence convocation of omnipotent fat blood mixed with the water of life found in the veins of nocturnal gods, conquest of the quivering dawn with its rustic skin of reptile ripening, rubbing its belly along the ground, hung out to dry on the tree of knowledge, where woman's willfulness is tested before the fall from grace. That self-same tree incredibly planted way to welcome us back with our snakeskin boots as a payback. I was caught by the jailer of the wilderness who has lost his keys in the damp grass of germination, where his heart was possessed by the iteration of the everlasting I am who I am the one God, I am the Father Adam of your fall, I am the snake that call, I am the all-knowing all, I am the armor-plated wall of life that you bust your head upon, and your head rush forward to be one with your gods, irrepressible in the half-light vigorousness that sleeps in the death mirrors full of boredom that call to you to conjure up the fearfulness found in the dark and damp forest, where the poets have lost their way with their immortal breath of storms raging as poems found in the dumpster of his stories of history, where the secret power of poems is that they can go assassinating the societies with their regent rigidity notion of conformity that seeks to control the mass man, and the madman seek to marginalize and ostracize the poets who do not deny that the way of the world is within them, that the name on the door of a poem calls for rebellion to free the soul chained and shackled, bought, and sold to the highest bidder. The poet of peace shall be offered as a sacrifice to the war goers, going full of zest when the last scribe in his holy incantation spoken before the body of his poems was set in gold and nailed to the skin. By the beautiful disposition of a bountiful punisher of the sin-eater, driven away into the madness fornication of the gods that have carried off the milk from the baby's mouth and turned back the would-be free-falling water stillborn in the grey bellies, cries of clouds bloated with their watery wares. I am caught where all the trees have fled from my backyard in the swift tail wings of the persecutor of the evolutionary that cover his eyes with the impossible mirror where time stands its ground against a dead man walking toward his misplaced grave. We grieve and gave through the gavage tube of the nourishment of the graven image, aged and allied by the botched hunger that rage in the flames, licks of desires to consume the exploded dreams, violent against a restless sleep full of time-told patience, deterred by the snore that sing its breathful lilac and lavender full of the volcanic scream to belong in a world where the mountains are renewed by throwing up, by turning itself inside out, by liquefaction the land slides into the sea when the earth shakes its backbone back against the fault line where the advancing indifference percussion of thunder roars its bristling motion full of the collapsed air that conspires with the crack of lightning that light up the heavy gray sky full of anxious rain nervously advancing on the fraternal breathing of a new day's daylight, bristling in the heat of a heat wave on the tip of the sun's tongue, licking in lapses the long-laid longing, laborious like the love-struck escape faint confession of I love you spoken above the went that was sent toward the same love that came in the same forget-me-not that forgot the time of year here in the prime time. Seen that have been both holy and lowly in the always day that changed the range of the darkness, standing on its head, filling the dumb air that come with the unfurled wind, full of the weight of pain that hath shaped itself, full of the pull toward the rain of the face of a race killing itself. I was caught between the cripples, the blind and the lame that are like grapes on the vine in the churchyard of the unconscious felines on their nightly journey through the alleys of a dark and hidden psyche, keeping to the shadows, sleeping in the winter hands of tree sleep. The long sleep in a night down range of a flying change that cling to the silence wings, sleep the pace of your place where dreams are dressed in the attire that admire the harshness of darkness, clad in the glad wind blowing true to the blessed time of crime. That is never fair to the victims who do not forecast their last willingness warmly for the criminals to admire. They are true to themselves, true to the one that is none beneath the spread of their bed, trembling like an unpinned wind full of the flash of the desire. A fire sounding in a rustic barrel fire is thicker than the darkness of night. It moves like a gospel of ghost toward the host of the air, their fast flowing, their great guilt like a rhyme in time, modest as a maiden's tender cheeks with her charity charm strung on the earnest nest of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost that rest in the wings of a sleeping northern bob white in the prostrations of night, force from the spot where it is not asleep in the slumber that it makes when the sunlight comes like a heart to its prey that stroke and strain in its last breath before being slashed in an orgy of feeding. I am caught by a visual purple music of a piano's 64th note rooted in the head of a thistle, the dark practice and divergent trajectories of a house finch's. The music found in the heart of an old elm holding the fine feather friend's breath, full of songs that would howl, would be found, would be full of wealthy memory toward the ample voice of a robust youth whose reason sing to me, sing to the hostile horse, sing from your throat the time signature of an unwritten song, sing on Ethiopia's evidence, expanded dark and beautiful ideologies developed by the drumbeat of ancient hearts of the council of elders, sing the flute of the wind, sing the forest's quest for a question, their green axis, their strong abilities of Getting alone sing the to hold the mouth the body of an organ's pipe full of tendentious toning breath. I am caught by the luminous illicit lust of the rain. I was caught by a lie told to the young who are waving sunlight with their hair like a bird eating the round moist meat of the unknown intellectual consciousness found in the worm's diagram of the inner earth. With its common music heard by the flooding of the Nile, the Nilio's river valley going its ancient way, feeding the earth in a yearly rebirth, an eternal flow older than blood in the vein of a leaf, older than the African god of writing the soul into heaven, older than the purification of the heart of the Muslim holy war, older than the obsolete anguish memories that fight to be suddenly renewed, older than an outpour of an explosion of fulminatory filary friendship thundering across the face of the sacrificial remembrance found in the crusades of the wind, found in the murderous innocence of a mismanaged death, of lynching the dark bark of a tree, lynching the throne of the sun god now gone the way of the dead gods, guilty of the whitewash whiners whisper wildly worn by the summertime beggars begging across the busted bridge down by the brown sun, done overnightly by a flock of blackbirds shot on the first day of May. The sucked wave that our minds make of the welcome well into hell, blind yet bold to let us go without a god of our own. Beware of the smiles of the wicked gods, quick to smother your mother in the small matter of living in the skin. They will crucify your needs to believe in any other. They take their jealousies as self-suffering, self-indulgent toward doing harm. What will become of the man without a god? He shall go gently into the good earth and become one with it. The roots of trees shall wrap around his bare bones. The weeds of the graveyard shall make of him their homes. The birds shall perch and rest on his gravestone. He shall become as wild as a newborn hen's. His indifference is of no great matter. The instrument of his flesh will not be lost behind the dead mind, for the flesh must obey the rules set forward by nature. There is no room to play. Born of flesh, die of flesh. Born a stone, live long. Born of tree, die by the born water. Die the downward wandering to the sea. The water rush and creep deep. It sweeps steep, never undone in its run. I was caught between a broken but singing voice's equipment with its words of tomb breathing, the hallucinations of Horace, where it took 10 years to remember that I were lost among the bewildered disaster found in a poison flower. I was caught between the do you love me do you not, plucked by each drop of shutter rain with its water spine broken on a season of memories kept in the flower's roots, rooted to deafness beside the tamed white stone, rolled by the lotus eaters fishing in the waves, breaking disorder and its tumbling, smoothing and moving earth. Back and forward in the wallow of water where the swaying ship's royal dictator published the illegal trafficking in emotions on the back of the mind. All and all time tell all, both demonic and divine. All drink the warm water waiting to be consumed by a thirsty desire of the thin-skinned third world's conquered essence, captivated and pulsating with the grandiose immense femininity found in the encrusted foreign body of racial segregation, where the curious cultural constellations urban island rage against the dead time honestly held by the hygienic conditions of black ivory. The standard daily diet of the sugar plantation induced the ignoring situation with its fondness for Caucasian features of the understanding of the courageous constitution, expanding its contemporary to the blind and divine priest that knew the biting of a god's head buried in his body, in his belly, in his polishing mind, in his absolutely rhymes of a gentle heart, dialectical in the sprouts of spring wearing green beneath the sidereal discussion on the nature of God's disappearing doing in the hour of our greatest need. Wherefore are the gods of old, where do they rest their death with their stalled blessing hidden in The hands of books and structures of wooden idols locked behind glass cases in the mausoleum of the museum, untouchable by the hands of children that look in wounded wonder at the large eyes looking back at them. The dead gods cannot ply their wares in the modern age, where the TV is the technological idol that inform the capitalism commercial saving of the souls of those who buy into the knowing glow of the new and improved, where everything looks like new, improved to do you goddamn good down to the tools of your flesh and bones. In the end, let it not be said of you that you turned your back on your passion. Leave not your answer blowing in the wind against the grey gravestone where the ravens take their rest. Let not the primal element of your essence go unfulfilled. Be as the inner structure of nature, one with itself, literally divine, drawing from its fountain of splendor that the canonized saints of poetry worshipped in the age of old. Modern poets give us more of the unwitted instinct of the world, give us more of the everywhere music of nature. Poets dwelling in your royal solitude of transcendentalism, be not the unimportant wandering sorrow-stricken man that other will make of you. Hold nature by the hand and go boldly into the fray, the fast fray that flows past your door of the divine significance of your old soul. Be a priest of the street to meet head on the open secret of the universe. Be the enlightener of daily life, the learner and the doer. Invent and devise. Let your suffrage serve the poor and downtrodden that labor to know their God in a seemingly godless world, where before their eyes and their lungs is the ultimate knowledge of God. Life is the answer. Go the wiser, wider way to see that we are all soldiers fighting the same battle, which is life, warriors cut from the same cloth the skin we wear. Go to those who worship the idolatry of the Bible, the idolatry of the Koran, the idolatry of the cross, all man-made and worshipped idols, all against the divine beauty of all natural. Stand you beside the God seen and not upon it that is imagined. Let all men come to believe for himself, let him not fall prey to the dead formulas of the so-called words of gods, the hearsay written in bygone days and had not stood the test of time to be reverenced. Divine, free your poems filled mind full of the restless feelings fleeing the Sunday mornings following just behind you, like the true daughters of the pain of labor, born out of the black whirlwind of a struggling and coming to grip with the grief of itself, its essential parts lagging alone, lifeless as a choir of angels singing the rigorous laws of heaven. I was caught by the dealer who keeps his nocturnal musical strength, decadence and greatest need, the mythology beast of burden that support the needs of an emergence, is built upon the ethnic isolation that foster the caste system of a quivering apparition embracing the fraternal earth, assuming the confinement of a petty apocalypse where the revelation is written out on the skin of a virginal god, deciphering the last rite of a dying night full of stars, pinpoint light caught where silent is more eloquent than words, the brief, swift, decisive, silent, almost military, a silent, passionate with its quick abrupt loneliness, like a pale rage being itself, a physiognomical self that markets matter as if woven of rainbows. I was caught by the last sun to be heard in the inner mind of a baby sparrow dreaming of flight from the blue jay's fight with spread wings and cocked beaks. They are losing their color to the cloudless sky, full belly out in light where sunlight bid you fare dwell, and only the sorcerers and whoremongers can stand to tell what the third angel poured from its vial of skin, as true as the blood in the veins. Common knowledge of being human is all the same. All men drop their pants to shit, all women squat to piss, all babies need not be taught to smile or to squeals out a sneeze or be caught up by their primate needs, not yet old enough to know that the singular mind hold itself as the center of the wanting world, and by it are we forever, along with a self that none can get to know. What we show as a royal corpse propped up on stones is the selfish self we wish other to know still. Our on the edge of the nest the sparrows sit unsure of flight, but edged on by some inner need to take to the wings soar away and everything find the need to spread and fly the coop. It is a divine order of life, poets let you fly on wings of words wrought from their rough heart's blood. I was caught by the vision of an ant crawling over the final face of the fallen, not yet let loose long enough to be overgrown by the middle breath of sand in the lunar air of the lungs, not yet old enough to grow cold in the desert. The body of this youth bare the bullets blew not busted open his life into the depth of death, and yet he is not alone. Many youths are gone to a cross of graves where the tiny flags waving in the wind sweep air around the gravestones that stand down there on against the manicured lawn where free flowering weeds grow. The living above the dead is a common thing. The dead with their generosities, their clan, their voiceless spectacle, free of the miseries and pettiness of the living, are fondly recalled by pictures and pins and military medals. I was caught by the territorial bay, hung and drowned and quartered in the hour of at weakest need, when the machismo manumitted minuets swung open the illimitable seconds again and again, and my country tear for thee when prejudice is held in the trigger of a gun held by the rope on a tree, dragged down a desecrated highway, nailed to the cross of our disbelief, gassed in the chamber of our hearts. It is in our nature to treat other with this intimidating, intolerable disrespect. We alone among creatures of the earth kill each other so readily as easily as taking the life of a tree is our murderous need to disregard the "thou shalt not kill" authoritarian advice given to Moses in his cognitive actuality hallucination, heard with the ear of his fingers, ear of his legs, with his whole body was the voice heard. It did command him to offer up the 10 commandments of righteous living within its control of obedience, but we in this day and age go upholding the good words. Our obfuscation of the rules have come to rule all our doings.